such a relief to see a familiar face in this ghastly desert, particularly today. You helped me get the crown of Anton. Would you consider assisting in my archaeological efforts again? I've encountered something of a setback here. Well, I discovered this fabulous portal in the Alik'r ruins. I sent my assistant through, and it was a mistake. The portal apparently leads to somewhere in the Grotwood, and basically he returned with the Aldmeri army at his heels. Yes, and unfortunately it seems they're now planning a full-scale invasion. Establishing a base, building siege weapons. We need to close the portal, quickly. I discovered an old tome that explains how, if I can find it again. Will you help me? You're a true hero, and I mean that. My camp is beside the ruins. That's where I left the book you need. Get the book, use it to activate the large pillars in the ruins. Then meet me inside the west door to the lower ruins. The portal's down there. I suppose that's a reasonable question. As you might imagine, the elves have locked the main entrance to the portal room. There is a back way, however, through an old prison of some sort. The pillars unlock the door into the prison. Oh, I haven't the foggiest notion what's in the prison. It's been centuries, though. Whatever was down there is surely dead. If not, well, you seem capable enough. And it can't be any worse than the damned elves. My researchers in High Rock gave me the essential background. Salas En was an Alik'r stronghold, built by human slaves in the Merethic era. The elves eventually got what they deserved during the Yokudan colonization of Hammerfell in the First Era. It's quite fascinating, really. It would seem to prove that the Aldmeri and the Alik'rs were still connected further into the Merethic era than we believed. I actually wrote a book on the subject. Well, someone wrote it for me, but who's counting? How kind of you to ask. Let's see. I was in Hrothgar for a while, but Orcish history is such a bore, so I left there and visited some Dwemer ruins in Morrowind. Then I wound up coming here. Stibbins has remained with me, of course, regrettably. Who knows? Who cares? The blathering fool created such a mess here. He's become a liability, especially since the Tomb of Kings. I have a new man assisting me now. He's much more efficient. Not as efficient as you, but you're not for hire.
do wish it was not so fiercely upon me.
Yeah!
Split up!
Yeah!
I fear I will never be able to get the sand out of my ears.
You certainly made short work of those elves. There seem to be few odd skeletons down here. No problem for you, I'm sure. Now, I assume you found the old tome in my camp? Thank you very much. Fortunately, I can translate the ancient Iliad, and that should tell us how to close the portal. It's through this door right behind me. The problem is that it's locked, but it appears that it's controlled by a switch deeper in the ruins. Would you be a dear and find the switch? Oh, if only I could have someone like you around full time. If you'll get the switch, that will give me time to study up whatever words I need to speak to close the portal. Once you get it opened, I'll just go on in, so meet me in the portal room.
Before you speak, stranger, know this. For centuries a spell has bound me. Many have tried to free me and failed. This prison has no lock or bonds to break. Did you hear me? This is no common spell. It was cast by Aldmeri wizards long since dead. This is a true curse. The task is beyond you. Of course, a fool would still try. Do as you wish. I won't harbor faint hope. For centuries, amateurs like yourself have tried to release me. Fools, all of you. You'd have a better chance of becoming the next Emperor. It pains me to speak of the past. Would you force me to relive such bitter memories? Ha! Please! There's a word I remember well. Please, she said to me. No one will know, she promised. She was wrong. Nuralanya, she was called in her high elven tongue. She was just Nura when we were together. I could deny her nothing. I was enthralled, a slave madly in love with his master. Our secret was eventually exposed, and the elves were furious. Our love was an abomination in their eyes. They decided execution was too kind a punishment for our crime. I was here, and she was there. To see one another, but not able to hear, or touch, or hold. Yet even that torment was insufficient for their retribution. The elves wove a spell to extend my life and prolong my torment. Elves live a long time, but not forever. I sat and watched as Nura slowly grew old and died. Sometime after that, the Regatta came and slaughtered the other elves. But even with them dead, the spell held strong. It was the Regatta, the warrior wave. The warriors sought vengeance. The swords of Yakuta passed through these halls, and the High Elves were washed away. They would have killed me, were it not for this spell. Instead, I watched, safely ensconced within this prison, as my captors were slaughtered. Many centuries passed before I learned who the warriors were, or from whence they came. A foreign people had arrived on these shores. They came from a distant land, Yakuta it was called. Yakutan warriors set out to conquer the new world they found. Singers named them the Regatta. If I knew, don't you think I would have escaped by now? All I know is the tiles must be used in the right order, and the order was determined by time, whatever that means. It pains me to speak. Fine. What would you ask of me? It was the Regatta, the warrior. work. Doing that? You may be onto something. By the bloody fangs of Moloch! By the stench of Moloch's gaping maw! What have you done? How can this be? I'm free? I should thank you, but I don't even think this is what I wanted. It's been so long since my life was my own. This is all I know. I don't want to leave.
The orc I know and love would never utter such words.
Nura? Is it really you? It's been so long.
We've suffered enough of this curse. By the grace of Mara, I've been allowed to take you beyond this mortal realm.
Finally, a release from the suffering of this world.
Come, my love. We have the rest of eternity to be together.
They have so much faith in that seal they put on the main door, they don't even have anyone guarding the portal. I'm not complaining, though. Are you ready to do this? All right. You're going to have to protect me, though. The chamber may be clear now, but as soon as I start the ritual, they'll realize it on the other side. They might try to charge through and stop us. All right, let's get this started. Woohoo! Take that, you damned elves! Oh, wait, I just lost my place. Alusaba. Takio? Takio. How do you pronounce that? All right, I think I've got it. Mala Alu Takeo. Well, that takes care of that now, doesn't it? I'm actually quite relieved. It would have been so embarrassing to have been responsible for the fall of Alik'r. After I opened the portal, I considered just leaving and denying that I was ever here. I am too. Now. If you would, though, I still would prefer to keep this quiet. I do have a reputation to uphold, you know.
Yeah.
Prices have never been.
Yeah.
Quality wares.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have a moment? It's worth your time. You there! There's gold for you if you'll lend me your time. I am a scholar of some import. Import. That is to say, I've traveled quite far. From Cyrodiil, just to study this forgotten shore. I sorely need an assistant. Azai at Oanok? He's my guide to Alik'r. He shows me the best routes and helps me make camp. But he doesn't know much about the great history of this land. I need someone to look around the ruins for an ancient sword. Legend says it only appears to a chosen few. I've had to ask strangers to walk through the ruins to look for it. Untrained eyes. I'm that desperate. Azai at Oanok might tell you where to look, if you're willing. I appreciate the assistance from common folk such as yourself. This sword is a significant specimen of lore, direct evidence of a legendary event in ancient Redguard history. There are books about this, but as you may be illiterate, I'll enlighten you. I suspect this is the site where sword singer Navid slew Ilkub, his ally, over the love of the fair Saide. The sword singers were so disciplined they could create a spirit sword. A sword made from their very thoughts. Not many could attain such strength of mind. Navid's sword is rare, as it apparently persisted after his death. The blade of a sword singer is a physical link between ancient Yokuda and Alik'r. Navid used this particular sword to slay his rival, and then himself. As a piece of history, it belongs in a proper Imperial museum. That's not important to my research. With sword singer Navid and his rival dead, I expect someone else went on to have a dozen children with fair Saide. Isn't that how these stories go? The important thing is the sword. No one's seen the sword or had any luck amongst these ruins. A pity, really. I had such high hopes for some of them.
I'm glad that the Imperial has found someone else to talk to. His haughtiness is suffocating. Yes, indeed it does. It is a story of jealousy and betrayal. Have you not heard the Ballad of Navid? In the early days of the Regatta, a powerful Unse named Yagub led a vanguard of 13 great warriors, sword singers all. In those days, Red Guard bonds of fellowship were even stronger than they are now. These men were as brothers. One of the warriors, Navid, was strong but covetous. His dearest companion, Ilkub, had met a woman named Saida, whose beauty was legendary. Hair like polished obsidian and eyes like darkest sapphires. Navid's jealousy grew and grew. Yes, just so. While Ilkub stood on the beach stringing his legendary bow, Navid crept up behind and thrust his sword deep into Ilkub's back. Before Ilkub died, it is said that he looked on Navid with such sadness that Navid's heart broke in two. Racked with guilt, Navid fled to his tent, took up his grandest blade, and killed himself. When Saida heard of what happened, she threw herself into the water from the highest cliff. She was not seen again. The sword in question is a wondrous object, and Herminius Sophis believes it will appear to those who have a connection with death or whatever lies beyond. The great scholar from Cyrodiil doesn't know. Imagine that. He wants to preserve it in a safe warehouse in Cyrodiil, where all the other artifacts have been taken, I imagine. If not me, another would surely stand here. My advice to you is simply to look along the shore. Others searched inland and were disappointed.
Yeah!
Beware.
Yeah.
They covet this blade, and shall come for it. You must leave this place. The sword is cursed. You seek the sword, is it not so? I must tell you, you are not the first to discover it. Others tried to take it, and paid a heavy toll. Take up the blade, and you will see. The sword-cursed are here among us already, circling like half-starved jackals. Can you not sense their jealousy? Their spite? The air is thick with it. The curse was forged in blood and envy. I murdered my dearest friend in a jealous rage, and the blade bears that taint still. The sword-cursed cannot bear the thought of losing the blade. If you touch it, they will come for you. Yes, and they will not stop so long as you carry it. Once you fall, and fall you will be consumed by the same jealous desire that drives them. They are long dead, and thus cannot be killed, though they will sleep for a time. But the blade calls out to them, always. When they wake, they shall seek it out again, and the one who keeps it. You have been warned. Did you recover the sword? We must speak before you go further with it. I did not expect you would find it. Only those who are different are capable of such a feat. What do you intend to do with it? Only those with the keenest senses can even see it. And only one without a soul should be able to take it from its resting place. I do not know how you lifted it unless your soul... No matter. What is your intention? That is wise. Sword Singer Navid was buried at the Lion's Tomb, though he did not deserve such an honor. It was hoped the curse would fade in time, but instead the sword claims more victims. The curse is his to bear. He must take back the blade. No, it is a deep, ancient curse. There is darkness in that blade that even the divines would struggle to banish. Sword Singer Navid's spirit seeks to distance himself from the blade, but he is the source of its evil. He cannot keep shedding the burden to others. A deception. I watch Herminius' office so he does not plunder Alik'r. I know more than his books have explained. That is wise. Sword Singer Navid was buried at the Lion's Tomb, though he did not deserve such an honor. It was hoped the curse would fade in time, but instead the sword claims more victims. The curse is his to bear. He must take back the blade. That is for the best. Leave it at the Lion's Tomb on the shore. Then talk to Herminius' office before you leave. Perhaps he will abandon his foolish search.
Yeah!
I warned you, but still you took the sword. And now you bring it to my tomb? Are you deranged? The sword curse will return soon. Take the sword away, quickly. I cannot. Do I not suffer enough? It has been centuries since I committed that heinous crime, and the shame is no less potent. That sword is a reminder I cannot bear. Take it away. I may still find some small measure of peace. They will be plagued by the victims of the sword, just as you were. But this is why I hid the sword away. I beg you, take it and leave. I cannot bear to look at it. No, I cannot. I will not. This is all Ilku's fault. His and Saira's. I will... No. Your words are true. Leave the sword with me.
Yeah.
Any luck finding the sword yet? So few people will work as hard as I do at these things. I'm not surprised that you didn't find anything. It takes keen eyes and an educated mind to fully identify significant artifacts. I may just abandon this site and go deeper in the desert anyway. I heard there were burial sites.